3 days after the funeral, Elara Voss stood in the marble foyer of her childhood home while strangers argued over what her dead brother had left behind. Her uncle, Darius Voss, sat at the head of the table as though the house already belonged to him. "You have until Friday," he said. "Sign the company shares over to me, and you can keep the house. Refuse, and you leave with nothing." Elara stared at him, scarcely believing the man who had once called himself family could speak so coldly while her brother's photograph still stood surrounded by funeral flowers. "My brother left instructions. Your brother is dead." The words struck harder than a slap. Before Elara could answer, the doors opened. Lucian Ray walked inside. He had been her brother's closest friend for 12 years, but grief had transformed even his familiar face. His black coat was wet from the rain, his expression severe, and his eyes carried the same exhaustion Elara felt inside her bones. Darius rose. "This doesn't concern you." Lucian placed a folder on the table. "It concerns me because I gave Adrian my word." Elara looked at him. Her brother's name was Adrian. Lucian opened the folder and slid a document forward. Adrian's will states that Elara retains complete control of the company and estate. Any attempt to pressure her into surrendering either becomes grounds for legal action. Darius's face tightened. "You think a piece of paper will stop me?" "No," Lucian replied. "My lawyers will." Darius left with a warning that made Elara's stomach tighten. "You can't protect her forever." Lucian watched the door close. Then he turned to Elara. "I intend to try." She laughed bitterly. "I don't need protecting. I know." "Then stop treating me like a helpless widow." "You're not helpless." His voice softened. "You're grieving." That silenced her. For the first time since Adrian's death, someone had said exactly what she was too proud to admit. Elara looked away. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do now." Lucian didn't tell her to be strong. He simply moved the untouched cup of tea toward her. "Drink." She frowned. "That's your solution?" "For tonight." She almost smiled. It was the first kindness she had accepted since the funeral. Over the next week, Lucian remained close without becoming overbearing. He handled threatening calls, dismissed corrupt advisors, and quietly repaired the broken lock on Elara's bedroom door. When she woke from nightmares, she sometimes found a lamp burning in the hallway because he had started leaving it on for her. But Darius was not finished. He discovered a legal loophole. If Elara married before the estate dispute was settled, her position would become almost impossible to challenge. Adrian's former business partners began pressuring her. One even offered marriage as a solution. Elara refused them all. Then Lucian came to her study one evening. "I have another option." She looked up from the documents. "What?" He hesitated. "Marry me." Elara stared at him. For years, Lucian had been the man who stood beside her brother, never beside her. Now he was asking her to become his wife. "You're serious?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because Adrian trusted me with your safety." Her expression hardened. "So this is charity?" "No. Duty." Lucian said nothing. That silence told her enough. Elara closed the folder. "I won't become someone's obligation." "You wouldn't be." "Then what would I be?" For one dangerous second, something unguarded crossed his face. "Someone I refuse to abandon." Her heart stumbled. She hated that it affected her. She hated even more that part of her wanted to believe him. Finally, she extended her hand. "Fine." Lucian took it. His palm was warm. Her fingers trembled. Neither of them noticed the figure standing unseen beyond the study doors. Darius had heard everything. And as he walked away, a slow smile appeared on his face. If Lucian thought marriage would protect Elara, Darius intended to make that marriage the very thing that destroyed her. The wedding took place beneath a gray November sky, with no flowers, no music, and barely a dozen guests. Elara Voss stood beside Lucian Ray in a simple ivory dress, listening as the vows that were supposed to protect her future sounded more like a contract. "I will," Lucian said when asked if he accepted her as his wife. Ilara swallowed. I will. She expected to feel trapped. Instead, she felt strangely safe. Lucian had made one condition clear before they married. He would never demand affection from her. Their marriage would remain an arrangement until the legal battle over her brother Adrian's estate ended. That night, he proved his word. He carried her suitcase into the bedroom, placed the key on the dresser, and turned toward the door. You're taking the guest room? Yes. You don't have to. I know. He paused. You've lost enough. I won't become another thing you have to endure. After he left, Ilara stared at the closed door for a long time. She had expected arrogance. She had not expected restraint. Their strange marriage settled into an uneasy rhythm. Lucian remained distant in public, but attentive in ways he never discussed. He noticed when Ilara skipped meals, replaced the cracked window in her study, and quietly dismissed a financial advisor who had been stealing from her brother's company. When Ilara confronted him, he merely said, "You shouldn't have to discover every betrayal alone." But Lucian's kindness made something inside her more unsettled, not less. She began noticing him too. The way he loosened his tie after difficult meetings. The way his expression softened whenever he mentioned Adrian. The way he always walked on the side of the street closest to traffic. Most of all, she noticed that he never touched her without permission. Then, one evening, Ilara returned home to find Adrian's old watch smashed across the floor. Her breath caught. It was the only personal possession of her brother she had kept beside her. Lucian found her kneeling among the broken pieces. Who did this? Darius. Lucian's jaw tightened. He came here. He wanted me frightened. Lucian crouched beside her and began gathering the pieces. Ilara whispered, "Why do you care so much?" He looked at her. "Because you're my wife. That isn't the real reason." His hands stopped. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Lucian said quietly, "No, it isn't." Before Ilara could ask what he meant, the front doors slammed open. Darius entered with 2 men behind him. "You have 48 hours, he announced. "Transfer the company shares, or I will expose everything Adrian hid before his death." Ilara stood. "You're bluffing." Darius smiled. "I have evidence that your brother's company was involved in illegal financial dealings." Lucian stepped forward. "Then release it." Darius looked amused. "You don't understand. If the evidence becomes public, Ilara loses everything." Ilara's face went pale. Darius leaned closer. "And your precious husband won't be able to save you." Lucian's voice became dangerously calm. "You're wrong." Darius laughed. "You have no idea what I possess. I don't need to know." Lucian moved between them. "I only need to know that you're afraid." Darius's smile disappeared. That night, Lucian worked until dawn. Ilara found him asleep at his desk, surrounded by documents. She covered him with a blanket. As she turned away, he stirred. "Ilara, go back to sleep. You're still here." She smiled faintly. "Apparently." His eyes remained on her. "I don't know when it happened." "What?" "When protecting you stopped feeling like a promise to Adrian." Her heart tightened. Lucian looked away before finishing. "It started feeling like something I wanted for myself." Ilara stood completely still. For the first time, she wondered whether their marriage had already become something neither of them had planned. Then her phone rang. It was the police. A car had been found at the bottom of the ravine outside the city. The registration belonged to her. And Lucian's face changed when he heard the news. Because Ilara was standing beside him. Which meant someone had deliberately planted her car elsewhere. Someone was preparing to make the world believe she was already dead. Lucian did not breathe until the police confirmed that the car had been stolen before it was found at the ravine. Ilara was alive. But the relief lasted only seconds. "Someone wanted you to believe she was dead," the detective said. "Whoever did this knew exactly how to make the evidence point toward you." Lucian's eyes hardened. "Darius." The detective nodded. "We're investigating him, But we need proof. Ilara stepped forward. Then we'll find it. Lucian turned toward her. You're staying out of this. No. Ilara. You married me to protect me. I married you because I gave Adrian my word. She held his gaze. And I married you because I trusted you. Don't make decisions for me now. Something changed in Lucian's expression. He had spent weeks shielding her from danger. Now he understood that loving her meant standing beside her, not in front of her. Fine, he said. Together. They discovered that Darius had transferred money to a private security company 3 days before the accident. The company belonged to a man who had once worked for Adrian. Then another piece surfaced. Adrian had secretly recorded a conversation with Darius before his death. In the recording, Darius admitted that he had been draining company funds for years. But the recording ended abruptly. Someone had destroyed the rest. Ilara listened twice. There has to be another copy. There is, Lucian said. She looked at him. How do you know? Because Adrian never trusted one hiding place. They searched his old office until midnight. Behind a loose panel beneath the desk, they found a small metal box. Inside was a flash drive and a handwritten note. Ilara unfolded it with shaking fingers. If anything happens to me, trust Lucian. He knows where the second door is. She looked at Lucian. What second door? He stared at the wall behind Adrian's desk. Then he remembered. When they were teenagers, Adrian had once joked that his office had a secret escape route. Lucian pressed the wooden panel beside the bookshelf. A section of the wall opened. Behind it was a narrow passage leading to an underground garage. And waiting inside the garage was a man Ilara had never expected to see. Her brother's former accountant. He had disappeared after Adrian's death. Ilara, the man whispered, your brother knew they were going to kill him. She covered her mouth. He knew. He knew Darius was stealing from the company. He also discovered that Darius had paid someone inside the business to sabotage the books. Lucian stepped forward. Who? The accountant handed him a file. Your wife's own legal advisor. Ilara's blood ran cold. The person she had trusted to defend her had been helping the man trying to destroy her. Before they could leave, the garage doors slammed shut. A second later, smoke began filling the room. Lucian grabbed Ilara's hand. Stay close. The accountant coughed. There has to be another exit. Lucian found it first. He kicked through a rusted service door, but the corridor beyond was blocked by fallen debris. Ilara spotted a narrow opening. Lucian there. They crawled through as smoke thickened behind them. The accountant stumbled. Lucian turned back. Go. I won't leave him. Ilara, go. She grabbed Lucian's arm. We don't abandon people. Those words stopped him. Together, they lifted the injured man and dragged him through the passage. They emerged into the rain moments before flames consumed the garage. Ilara collapsed against Lucian. He held her tightly. You're impossible. You knew that when you married me. He laughed despite himself. Then he touched her face. I nearly lost you. But you didn't. I can't keep pretending this is duty. Ilara's eyes filled with tears. Then don't. He kissed her beneath the rain. This time there was no hesitation. No arrangement. No promise to Adrian. Only love. But when they returned home, another envelope was waiting. It contained a photograph of Darius standing beside Adrian on the night before Adrian died. On the back, someone had written, You found the first truth. Now discover why Adrian really died. The photograph remained on the table all night. Ilara could not stop staring at it. Darius stood beside Adrian in the image, both men outside the company headquarters on the night before Adrian died. At first, the photograph proved nothing. Then Lucian noticed the timestamp. That was 3 hours after Adrian called me. Ilara looked up. What did he say? Lucian's expression tightened. He told me he had discovered who was stealing from the company. He said he was meeting someone he trusted. Darius. I thought so. The accountant shook his head. No. He said the person was someone he had known for years. They searched the old records again and found the missing piece. Ilara's legal advisor had arranged the financial transfers, but Darius had only been the beneficiary. The real architect was Adrian's longtime business partner, Silas Wren, a man who had publicly mourned Adrian and privately planned to seize the entire company. Silas struck before they could expose him. He abducted the accountant and sent Ilara a message containing one sentence. Come alone if you want him alive. Lucian immediately reached for his coat. I'll handle this. No. Ilara, this isn't negotiable. She caught his hand. You promised you would stand beside me. His anger faded. You're right. They traced the message to an abandoned riverside warehouse. Lucian entered first, while Ilara followed with the police close behind. Silas was waiting. The accountant was tied to a chair. You should have walked away, Silas said. Ilara stepped forward. You killed my brother. Silas smiled. Your brother was going to destroy everything I built. You didn't build anything, she replied. You stole it. Silas pulled a gun. Lucian moved between them. The gun fired. He fell. Ilara screamed. For one terrible moment, she thought she had lost him too. But Lucian was still breathing. The police stormed the warehouse. Silas was arrested before he could escape. Ilara dropped beside Lucian, pressing her hands against his wound. Stay with me. He managed a faint smile. You're giving orders again. Because you never listen. I married a difficult woman. You're going to survive long enough to regret saying that. He laughed weakly. Then his eyes closed. At the hospital, Ilara refused to leave his side. When Lucian finally woke, she was asleep with her hand wrapped around his. He watched her quietly. When she opened her eyes, he whispered, You're still here. Where else would I be? He smiled. I thought our marriage would end when Adrian's estate was settled. So did I. What changed? Ilara leaned closer. You did. Months later, Darius and Silas were convicted, and the company was returned to Ilara. But she refused to rebuild Adrian's empire. Instead, she sold the business and used the proceeds to establish a foundation in her brother's name, helping families who had been ruined by financial crimes. Lucian became its legal director. Their marriage no longer needed documents to justify it. Then, on the anniversary of Adrian's death, Lucian brought Ilara to a quiet lakeside property. She frowned. Why are we here? He handed her a key. Because Adrian bought this place before he died. Inside, she discovered boxes filled with childhood photographs, letters, and memories her brother had saved for her. At the bottom was an envelope. Ilara opened it. Ilara, if Lucian is with you when you read this, then I was right to trust him. I never wanted him to marry you because of me. I wanted him to give you the chance to choose him for yourself. Tears filled her eyes. Lucian took her hand. Our first marriage began with your brother's wish. He knelt. I want our second beginning to be ours. Ilara laughed through her tears. You're proposing to your own wife? Yes. That's absurd. Will you marry me again? She pulled him to his feet and kissed him. Yes. But this time, no contracts. No duty. No lies. Only love. They held each other as sunlight spilled across the lake. Years later, the old property became a home for families rescued by their foundation. Children filled its gardens, and every room carried the warmth neither Ilara nor Lucian had believed possible after so much loss. Their love story had begun with a funeral, a threat, and a marriage neither of them had chosen for themselves. But their happiest ending belonged entirely to them. They had not merely survived the people who tried to destroy them. They had built a life so full of love that the cruelty of the past could no longer define them. And whenever Ilara looked at Lucian across the crowded dinner table, she remembered the man who had once married her out of duty. Then she smiled at the husband who had stayed because, somewhere along the way, duty had become devotion, devotion had become love, and love had become home.